if you're dealing with depression, self-pity, if you're just kind of stuck in unbelief that life is going to get better, Psalm 34 has the answer for you. And so I want to look at it with you, because I think it's revelation, and the prescription that it has is pretty powerful. So it starts out, I will praise the Lord at all times. And that was the phrase that really stuck out to me. It said, at all times. And I thought about Job and what his life teaches us, that no matter how bad life gets, no matter how many excuses we have and chances to like blame God, to point our finger and say, hey, this life that you've given me sucks. That we aren't allowed to do that. We should not do that, because that is giving into unbelief that God can take any situation, even Job, even the worst situation, can take it and redeem it. And if we lose that spark of optimism, if we lose that faith, then we're absolutely defeated, and we're not actually acting as people of faith, believing that God is guarding our life and our inheritance. So this commitment says, I'm going to praise. I'm going to make an active practice of lifting up what I'm grateful for and thankful for. I'm going to constantly, that is such a provoking word, constantly speak his praises. You know, that takes real dedication. And I'm sure you've been through depression in a rut and gotten into that place of self-pity. It's not necessarily the first thing that comes to mind to have gratitude and thanksgiving, but this right here is the answer. This is the prescription. He's saying, if you're struggling with that stuff, press in gratitude, thanksgiving, praise. These are your weapons. These are the things that will actually overcome the darkness that's trying to take you out, because that's what you have to realize is you're not, like, we need you on the field. We need you on the team. If you're benching yourself out of self-pity and depression, we're all suffering for it, because you just don't understand how powerful your contribution to our lives actually is, and the strength that you bring to the table and all that kind of stuff. And we need you to be operating on a mindset like that God does reward those who seek him, and I can be a force for good in the world because God's got my back. So this is the commitment of somebody that follows Jesus, somebody that believes in God. I will praise the Lord at all times. I'll constantly sing his praises. What's your boast? Where is your strength? Is it in your own cunning? Your boast is in the Lord. So it's not like, wow, Job wasn't like, oh, I know the solution. I know how to get out of this trouble. Just need to like pull myself up from my bootstraps. No, at the end of the day, it's like, what is my boast? Where is my strength? It's in God. And if it's not there, I really am doomed. But because God is real, then if you feel helpless, take heart, have courage, because God is your solution. He cares about you. So come, let us tell of the Lord's greatness. What is the Lord's greatness? I mean, you can spend so long on that. You could look at his creation. You could look at his faithfulness, his generosity, all his attributes, generosity. It's hard to speak and spell at the same time. And so there's some commitment in this lifestyle to say, let's look at the Lord's greatness and focus on that rather than all of the negative stuff that might be happening in my life. And then this is really interesting. It says, let us exalt his name together. Community is so essential to a successful life. Community standing by you in those dark moments, like that's how you make it through. So I like that it highlighted that. And then this next set of verses is so beautiful. I prayed to the Lord and he answered me. And that is just the most remarkable sentence. This idea that I'm not a very powerful person, not that much influence, not that much wealth, but I have the ear of the almighty creator of the entire universe. That is an unbelievable statement, that when I am in pain, when I'm distressed, when life is coming against me, God hears me and he's with me. I like that idea that through all that, all of life, the ups and downs, he's with us through it. And what does he come to do? He frees me from all my fears. So he brings freedom. He's a God that sees suffering and pain and knows how to transcend it, knows how to carry you through it. And those who look to him, so I want to be somebody that looks to God for my solutions. What is the effect of that going to be? Radiant with joy. That sounds great. I would love to be a person that is radiant with joy. No shadow of shame will darken their face. Would love to have no shame. And so what is the key to this? That when I hit times of desperation, I pray. And I really look to God and I say, I'm going to bring you my emotions. I'm going to bring you my needs. And I'm going to recall, back to the beginning, I'm going to recall who you are, your faithfulness, your goodness, so that I don't get taken out thinking that so many people blame God. And he's like the only source of their salvation, but they turn and make him the enemy rather than pointing their frustration and anger at the devil and a broken world and the effects of sin. They turn their back from God and blame God, who really all along is the only one that wants to help them. So God is the one that saves me from my trouble. He is a guard, and I love this. He surrounds me and he defends all who fear him. In that fear him, like what does it mean to fear the Lord? I think of it means to respect God. It means that you obey him, and you obey him because you trust him. That's mainly what I think when I hear the phrase fear the Lord, is I think this is somebody that really trusts God and says, man, if he said it, if he's given me a way, like it must be the right thing to do. And then there's this beautiful sentence, taste and see that the Lord is good. Like, don't just take my word for it, experience it, press in faith, in optimism, that no matter what you're going through, that you will see God's breakthrough. We can't settle for anything less than holding on to see God's promises come true, to see his goodness and the promises that he has in the Bible for us actually come true. And the reason why we're morally obligated to do that, it's like, if I'm in a place of suffering and think there's no hope, I'm just going to give up. I'm going to lay down and die. But if I know that there's a God who is good and who's said, I will protect and provide you, then no matter how dark the circumstances, I can look to the people around me and say, hey, we need faith. We need to keep going. God is going to deliver us. And then I become an agent for courage in the people around me, and we all keep going. And so that spark of faith, that courage, you just don't know how important that is for your own life, and then for everyone around you. And so there's real joy for those that take refuge in him, that look to God as their solution. And then, it says fear the Lord, so it means trust God. If you want to be like him, if you want to be godly, if you want to have his attributes, generosity, faith, love, kindness, then you should trust God and obey the way that he's laid out, the path that he's laid out for us. Because those who fear the Lord, they have all they need. God really will provide. If you trust in the Lord, that's the same thing as fear the Lord, you will lack no good thing. And that is an unbelievable promise. You just take that to the bank. You're not living a life that is we're not just a bunch of atoms that have evolved that don't have any, like, that there is a God who is our Father, and he has real promises, and he says, if you follow my ways, I will meet you in it. And so it gives you courage to do what's right. It gives you courage not to take the easy way out, but live with integrity, live with according to God's ways, and you will lack no good thing. That's a promise. You take that to the bank. And so come, listen to me. I will teach you how to fear the Lord. Does anyone want to live a life that's long and prosperous? Yes, I do. Check. Then here's some instructions. Don't keep your tongue from speaking evil. Don't tell lies. Turn away from evil and do good. So it's basically saying, don't take the easy way out. Don't live a false life. You know, there's an adventure in telling the truth. There's an adventure to being someone that says, hey, I know the right thing in my conscience. I know God is convicting me. Like, I have to say the truth. I have to stand for the truth. That's an adventure to live on, because you're not only living a life, you're leaving an inheritance for the next generation to say, hey, I tested God. I lived a crazy life where I put everything on the line to see if God's promises were true. And here's my testimony. And then you hand faith down to your children and your grandchildren, great-grandchildren. And they all learn, man, when Grandpa read the promises of God, when he put it all on the line, when he went to that country, when he invested his money, when he, donated or gave all his money away, or whatever it was, whatever that challenge that God is calling you to, and you have that conviction, like, I can't take the easy way out, I have to follow this. That's your adventure, your story that you get to hand on to the next generations. And so I think that is just a remarkable invitation. And so don't do evil. Don't do things that are just good for you, the easy way out. Don't tell lies. Live truth and live a life that's in alignment with how God defines it. It says, do good, search for peace, and work to maintain it. And I think that work thing is important. God really, he didn't promise us an easy life. He said, you got to work for it. These things, these principles that I've laid out, I'm not trying to raise you to just be a satisfied infant where I take care of all your needs and it's easy. I'm trying to mature you and grow you into a capable, strong, free agent, like someone that has the ability to move through the world and choose to do good. And what's his promise? That the eyes of the Lord watch over those who do right. That's remarkable. That not only does God hear my cry, but his eye is on me. He's watching me. He's involved in my life. You know, this is what I was talking. He's with me through life. His ears are open to those who cry for his help. But the Lord turns his face against those who do evil. I don't want to be on that side. I don't want him to turn away from me. I want him to work with me, and I want to work with him. This next sentence, he will erase from their memory from the earth. You know, you think about people that do evil, people that don't live according to his ways, their lives destruct in a way where, I don't know if you've had this experience or just seen a movie where, kids with their evil dad or evil grandpa or something like that, they don't want anything to do with him. They don't visit his grave. They don't tell his stories. They carry, this desire to kind of forget about him, and it ends your legacy. But, so that's people, their evil ways and their selfish ways are erased because they don't carry on in the future. It says the Lord hears his people when they call to him for help. That's, again, saying what this previous verse said. He rescues them from their trouble. And then the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. And so no matter how dark and desperate and depressed that you feel, you just have to hold on to that promise right there, that he rescues those whose spirits are crushed. And you have to make that the centerpiece of your life. You can't focus on the negative. You have to say, you know what, no matter how hard this is right now, how crushed that I feel, God is with me. He cares. And look for that optimism. Look for that hope. Look for that faith. You can't allow the devil to extinguish your light. We need you to kind of fight the depression, fight like that downward spiral into hell, so to speak. And you need to kind of be looking upwards and say, hey, no matter where I'm at right now, God can deliver me. You know, it's the story of Jonah in the belly of the whale. Like, your life's not darker than that right now. And if God delivered Jonah, if you come into alignment with God and say, like, Lord, help me find a way out, he is with you. He's close to the brokenhearted. So here's just a statement of truth. The righteous person faces many troubles. Like, there's no escaping that life is full of hardship and suffering. That's just reality. But the Lord comes to the rescue when? Every time. And that should give you unbelievable hope. And you can just take that to the lies of the enemy and say, you know what? You're trying to get me depressed. You're trying to take me out of the game. But every time I know that the Lord comes to rescue. And if your story still feels like a tragedy, it just means you're not at the end of the story. God doesn't write tragedies. You just haven't seen the redemption yet. It's not the end of the story. And so hold on to this verse in 19. And then look at this. For the Lord protects the bones of the righteous. Do you remember Jesus hanging on the cross, how they came to the thief on either side of him and they broke their knees so that they would die faster? But they didn't break Jesus's knees, and that they stabbed him in the side, you know? Look at this. This is the prophetic picture of that. For the Lord protects the bones of the righteous. Not one of them will be broken. This is the story of Jesus. This is the testimony of Jesus written in the Psalms. It's a prophecy that kind of foreshadows that moment on the cross and saying, you know what? Jesus trusted God even under the cross, that much suffering, that much injustice. And it looked like a defeat. It looked like all hope was lost. And God said, no, I don't write tragedies. You just haven't seen the end of the story yet. This promise that not one of the bones, his bones was broken. That promise is true. And then bam, resurrection happened. And God says, if you voluntarily lay down your life in love for others, there is a reward for that. And that's what Jesus was pressing into it. You know, I wonder if like this verse, it must have flashed through his mind as he hung on the cross and said, man, I'm hanging on to this promise from the Father. So calamity, you know, it says troubles, they're going to come. Calamity will come, and it's going to destroy the wicked. And those that hate the righteous, they're going to be punished, but the Lord will redeem those who serve him. This would be fear of the Lord. Fear of the Lord. Same thing. If you serve him, if you obey him, and no one that takes refuge in God will be condemned. So your salvation, your redemption, there is a way out of whatever you're struggling and wrestling with right now. And the promises are here. And if they were good enough for Jesus, then they're good enough for us. And we have to make this psalm the truth of our heart and the thing that we hang our heart on so that we don't grow discouraged.